how we engineer the planet. It's about the fact, an uncomfortable fact, but it is a fact, that we have the technical ability to do this with frightening level of sort of basic technical ease and frightening low cost. That doesn't mean that it works perfectly. It doesn't mean we understand the risks very well.
It's a national security risk. Miami floods on a sunny day, and instead of doing anything about it, we got elected officials throwing snowballs in the Senate. Okay, I think I got it, bro. It is crazy. What about our kids? What kind of stupid, short-sighted, irresponsible...
How we engineer the planet. It's about the fact, an uncomfortable fact, but it is a fact, that we have the technical ability to do this with frightening level of sort of basic technical ease and frightening low cost. That doesn't mean that it works perfectly. It doesn't mean we understand the risks very well.
It's a national security risk. Miami floods on a sunny day, and instead of doing anything about it, we got elected officials throwing snowballs in the Senate. I think I got it, bro. It is crazy. What about our kids? What kind of stupid, short-sighted, irresponsible...
GeoEngineering, fighting global warming by putting a chemical dust in the atmosphere and reflecting harmful radiation back into space.
We take geoengineering to mean deliberate, large-scale intervention in Earth systems.
There are a variety of schemes that have been discussed for geoengineering. A classic example is injecting reflecting particles into Earth orbit.
Nevertheless, there might be some good reason to think about alumina. It turns out, first of all, there's been a lot of work on the environmental consequences of alumina in the stratosphere. The big deal really is that alumina has 4 times the volumetric rate of forcing for small particles as does sulfur. And that means you have 4 times less surface area for the same rate of forcing. And this is a much bigger deal. You have roughly 16 times less the coagulation rate. And that's the thing that really drives removal. So you can get away, we think, with much smaller mass limits.
So that's why we see things like in the use aircraft patent from '89, they talk about aluminum. And that's why we're seeing in the surface water samples aluminum. And here's David Keath saying that aluminum has 4 times the reflective volume surface area. So they'd like us to think that we're talking about sulfur, but here they slipped up and let it out that aluminum is 4 times better at receiving their ends. And
shut it off.
Sounds like how they do when they don't want us to know the effects of it.
The little picture is from a nanofabrication study, which shows you can make very high quality, do this in just a jet in a very simple way, make high quality alumina particles just by spraying aluminum vapor out, which oxidizes. So it's certainly in principle possible to do that, and there's a big literature that's already looked at that. And you could do that by either building new versions of these aircraft or even re-engineering existing aircraft. So there's some ideas of that. So you go to an engineering firm and you want this done. They don't say this is hard or unusual. They say, okay, yes, we can do it. Aerosol geoengineering looks like it is so cheap that the cost is basically not going to be an issue. That means that implementation decisions will be risk-to-risk decisions. The risk of doing it against the risk of not doing it. And it makes the problem of how we govern it fundamentally harder and different than normal. So I've told you this cheap to deliver materials in stratosphere. I don't think that's true. I don't think that will change. But I think the more we do research, the less easy this will look. The more complicated the environmental effects will look. And that's a good thing, because right now it looks too easy. So I think that if we do more research, we're likely to find out that it's harder and more complicated than we thought, and that the side effects are harder to manage, and that's a healthy outcome that will make it easier to do the management. Of course, the opposite reaction is possible. It's an empirical question how people will actually react to knowledge about this. Another reaction is to say, if these crazy scientists are so concerned about putting CO2 in the atmosphere, they want to think about these things,
so
and then that actually mean we should be more serious about the risks of CO2 in the atmosphere. And by the way, it's not really a moral hazard, it's more like free riding on our grandkids. And by the way, it's not really a moral hazard, it's more like free riding on our grandkids.
What would be the effects of these materials on human health if they came down into the stratosphere?
That spraying 10 to 20 megatons of aluminum, as you said, would have no human health effects. He took a deep breath and he swallowed and he said, let me be more careful here.
We haven't done anything serious on alumina, and so there could be something terrible that we'll find tomorrow we haven't looked at.
On a sunny day, instead of doing anything about it, we got elected officials throwing snowballs in the Senate. I think I got it, bro. It is crazy.